You're right on time for Newswatch on this 8th day of August 2023. A very good evening to you and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Kennedy Kimani and Boniface Mureithi will be assisting in the sign language interpretation. Now, the anticipated bipartisan talks between the government and the opposition are set to kick off tomorrow. At the Bomas of Kenya, the Kenya Kwanza team will be led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani-8th Aug, while the Azimio team will be led by WAP Party Leader Kalonzo Musyoka. Azimio have declared that their readiness for the talks, noting that they have established a technical and legal team that will be headed by Embattled Jubilee's Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni to support their delegation during the dialogue. And as our very own Alice Diana now reports, both sides have maintained hard-line positions over the agenda of the talks.
With both Kenya Kwanza and Azimio teams having declared their readiness for the bipartisan talks set for tomorrow morning at the Bomas of Kenya in Nairobi, the spotlight now shifts to the dialogue team, which is expected in their first joint meeting to discuss the period the talks will take and the order in which the matters raised by both teams will be addressed, among other issues. Azimio had earlier given its ultimatum for the talks until end of this month, failure to which they will resume street protests. Ahead of the talks, Azimio team has maintained that the issues for discussions on their part remains the cost of living, audit of the 2022 presidential election results, restructuring and reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and related matters, measures to prevent interference with political parties, and outstanding constitutional matters.
We have put in place a technical and legal team to support our delegation to the dialogue. Consequently, we have settled on Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, to head the legal and technical team to the talks.
On the other hand, the Kenya Kwanza team have listed the reconstitution of IBC, implementation of 2/3 gender rule in Parliament, inclusion of CDF fund in the Constitution, establishment of the Office of the Opposition Leader, as well as embedment of the Office of Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Sisi tuko tayari kuongea mambo yanayohusu mwananchi wa kawaida. Mambo ya kibinafsi, mambo ya kugawa mamlaka, mambo ya nusu mkate, mambo ya handshake, hayo hayako kwa meza ya sisi kuongea na wale marafiki zetu. Nimeongea na mheshimiwa former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, na tumekubaliana Wednesday saa 5:30 tutakutana pale Bomas, sio kwa hoteli. Niliwaambia hakuna chai na hakuna pesa ya kununua chai na hakuna allowance. Tutapatana hapo Bomas, tukae chini tuongee mambo ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Na tumesema agenda zile 5 rais ulituambia tuende tuongee, tutakuwa nazo kwa meza. Wakileta zingine tutawasikiza kwa heshima.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka will lead the Azimio dialogue team and will be deputized by Minority Leader in the National Assembly Opiyo Wandayi, who will also be the spokesperson of the delegation. Others in the team include DAPK leader Eugene Wamalwa, Nyamira Senator Okongo Omogeni, and Malindi MP Amina Mnyanzi.
You have tasked our delegation and our technical teams under the able leadership of His Excellency Kalonzo and Kioni to go to these talks with courage of and open minds. It takes courage and open minds to establish common ground in situations of dispute.
The Kenya Kwanza team, on the other hand, will be led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani-8th Aug, who will be joined by Senate Majority Leader Aaron Cheriot, Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire, Yala MP Hassan Omar, and Bungoma Woman Representative Catherine Wambilinga. Alice Diana, Hope TV Newswatch.
Thank you so much, Alice, for that report. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Japhet Koome, has accused politicians of hiring dead bodies from morgues and portraying them as victims of police brutality. Speaking today at the National Police College main campus in Kiganjo, Nyeri County, IG Koome said the leaders conspire with morgue attendants to take pictures of the bodies, after which they post them on social media platforms to taint the image of the police force. At the same time, Koome commended the police for their actions during the anti-government protests led by Azimio la Umoja coalition. This comes even as Azimio leader Raila Odinga has rubbished Kome's remarks, terming them as unfortunate. The ODM boss reiterated that the lawyers who the opposition has enlisted are still documenting cases of brutality which they will be used to build a watertight case against the police.
We are going to discharge our mandate without losing focus. We are aware of the situation we are in at the moment. A lot of propaganda out there with an intention of demoralizing police officers, intimidating them. Very unfortunate. We've seen in the recent past, and very unfortunate. Senior members of the society going to mortuaries, hiring dead bodies. Calling media, telling media that these people were killed by police officers.
It is actually very disappointing to see a statement from Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kome, saying that we hired dead bodies to accuse police of brutality. I don't know in which world he lives. Because the bodies we've been burying have bullet wounds on them. And death certificates confirming the cause of death. One was whose neck was just chopped off in Sondo. Another one was a victim of arrow attack. So these are real deaths of human beings killed by Mr. Kome's goons.
Moving on, High Court Principal Judge Eric Ogolla has transferred 13 judges in the latest changes affecting several divisions in the judiciary. Among those who have been transferred include Lady Justice Mugure Dhande, who suspended President William Ruto's Finance Act 2023. Mugure has been moved to Malindi Court in changes effected by Principal Judge of the High Court Justice Eric Ogolla. She will be replaced by Justice Chacha Mwita, who will be presiding judge at the Milimani Constitutional and Human Rights Division. Others are Justice David Majanja, who has been moved from the Commercial and Tax Division to the Civil Division. The other judges who were transferred include Lady Justice Hedwig Ongundi, who was transferred to the Nakuru High Court. High Court Principal Judge Ogolla also moved Lady Justice Maureen Odero from the Family Court to the Nyeri Court. Now, the Cabinet has sanctioned an extension of the duty-free importation of milled sugar. Through a Cabinet dispatch, the move is said to bridge the supply deficit of sugar in the country. Additionally, the Cabinet also approved the program for the revival and commercialization of state-owned sugar companies. The sugar companies are Nzoia, Chemilil, Miwani, Muhoroni, South Nyanza and Mumias. Meanwhile, the process of recruiting additional beneficiaries to the government's Inua Jamii Safety Net program will begin next month. This is after the Cabinet approved the process in what it termed as securing the dignity of all citizens and honoring senior citizens. The Cabinet has also approved duty-free importation of raw materials for the processing of animal feeds. The move comes as a relief to farmers who will now be able to access animal feeds at a cheaper price and increase their profits. And President William Ruto has assured the country that the government will support manufacturing and agricultural value chains to exploit their huge untapped potential. Speaking in Kiganjo, Nyeri County, where he commissioned the modernized Kenya Cooperative Creameries Kiganjo factory, the head of state said that the government has put in place a solid plan that will double the milk production in the country. According to President Ruto, this is in recognition that milk is one of the highest influences of the country's income. Here's our very own Grace Ahati with the details.
Farmers in the country are said to benefit from the government's plan of doubling the production of milk in the country, a move that is expected to boost their income. This comes even as President William Ruto has stated that the farmers will be the main players in the new plan to improve the dairy industry in the country.
Maziwa inatupatia karibu bilioni 200 kila mwaka. In fact, it is among the highest influencers of our incomes as a nation. Maziwa ambayo inafanywa processing, maziwa ambayo inauzwa bado haijafanywa processing, na tunazidi na kutafuta mbinu na namna ya kuhakikisha kwamba we do more processing of our milk, do less sale of raw milk, because by doing more processing, we add more value and farmers get a better pay for their milk.
Other interventions to improve the sector include the removal of import duties on animal feed, including yellow maize. In addition, the president has directed KCC to reduce the costs incurred by farmers in order to increase their profit.
It is in the interest of processors. It is in the interest of transporters. It is in the interest of cooperatives. It is in the interest of the financial institutions and SACCOs that the mkulima is making money. If mkulima is not making money, all of you will be jobless.
On his part, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has reiterated that the government is committed to protecting local dairy farmers from exploitation.
Some of these cartels have gone there. They import milk from Europe. They pack it in our neighboring countries to take advantage of the trade treaties with our neighbors and dump cheap milk into this country. So along the way, we'll have a conversation, Your Excellency, with our neighboring countries so that they are not used by the very people who have been oppressing these farmers.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Grace Ahati.
Thank you so much, Grace, for that report. Now, on that note, it's time for a quick breather here on Newswatch, but we still have more stories, so see you on the other side.
Thank you for consistently tuning in to watch and listen to our content both on Hope TV and Hope FM. You are the reason why we are on air. The CBS Family Service now comes to you every Sunday at 4 p.m. on Hope TV, Hope FM, and on Sitam Church Online.
The Holy Spirit will empower our prayer lives.
Our mission is to know God and to make Him known through evangelism and discipleship.
CBS Family Service on Hope FM and Hope TV, where you look and live.
Kama vile mashua baharini, mizani imekwisha wasili. Mara hii kila Alhamisi.
Msalata kabisa, mpenzi mtazamaji, mpenzi msikilizaji wa Mizani.
Tungependa Wakenya waende kwenye nchi ambazo tuko na mikataba nao.
Kulikuwa na Raila Odinga, kukawa na Wajakoya pia. Mbona hongeunga mkono?
Tuwape mauzani wa masuala ibuka na chupukayo toka kila pembe ya Kenya na ukanda huu wa Afrika. Yawe mambo au vijimambo, jiongea na kutaarifu na kuarifu zako fikra. Kila Alhamisi saa 1 machweo kwenye runinga ya Hope TV.
Mitamu.
Tukutane Mizani.
Ukisoma historia ya Siratu Muhammad ambayo imeandikwa na Sheikh Abdullah Saleh Farsi, Muislamu wa kwanza duniani tunaambiwa ni Khadija bint Walid.
The house Jacob does not believe, but again I say, does not believe in anybody being God. No.
Mwanadamu atakayeji submit kwa will ya Mwenyezi Mungu, huyo anakuwa ni Muislamu. Jini vile vile atakayeji submit freely akaamua kufuata sheria ya Mungu anakuwa ni Muislamu.
Adui huyu ni shetani na majini.
Christ was not crucified at all because his close disciple Barnabas said that no, he was taken live to heaven.
Yesu alikuwa anaenda msikitini na alikuwa ni Muislamu kulingana na Biblia yenu.
Hakuna mahali katika kitabu cha Biblia kuanzia mwanzo hadi Ufunuo neno moja Uislamu.
Welcome back. You're watching Newswatch on Hope TV. Now, the Nyamira County Assembly Majority Leader and Nyamai Ward MCA Elijah Osiemo is dead following a tragic road accident. Confirming the incident via a statement, Nyamira Governor Amos Nyaribo said the accident occurred along Mai Mahiu Naivasha Road on Monday afternoon. Osiemo was traveling with Nyamira Township Ward MCA Duke Masira and nominated MCA Priscilla Nyatiji to Nairobi for a meeting. When the driver of the vehicle they were traveling lost control. President William Ruto has condoled with the people of Nyamira for the death of Osiemo and wished quick recovery to the survivors.
We got this message with a lot of, we were surprised when we got a message, and actually when we were told that the three of them had perished. We rushed from Nairobi, but unfortunately we can see our brother Duke and our sister, they are doing well. Priscilla, they are doing well. As my colleague said, this is a very sad day for the county of Nyamira, but we believe the two will get well soon, go back to their duties, and we wish the family of the late Osiemo, wish them well. We know it's a very painful moment for the family, but for now there's really nothing that we can do.
My name is Bernard Maina, CC member in charge of Trade, Tourism, Industry and Cooperative Development, Nyamira County. It's a very sad evening, just like what my colleagues have said. We've lost a young, brilliant, honorable member of the County Assembly of Nyamira and the majority leader. It's indeed very sad to the county government of Nyamira and to the people of Nyamira as a whole. We want to wish the family of the late honorable member for Nyamira, honorable county assembly member of Nyamira, honorable Elijah. We want to wish them comfort, especially in this difficult moment.
Quite a sad story there. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Now, moving on, a section of religious leaders have raised alarm over Africa's debt levels, which collectively amount to more than $1.1 trillion in external debt. Speaking during a press conference today, the leaders under the African Faith Leaders umbrella have advocated for effective management of public funds and eradication of corruption. As our very own Tess Njenga now reports, the leaders have outlined measures that can be implemented so as to address the multiple crises facing the African continent.
As Africa grapples with the crisis of conflict and unrest, the high cost of living and degradation of human dignity, African faith leaders have called for a debt reduction and relief process that will stop the harassment of African countries in debt. Going forward, the faith leaders say responsible lending and borrowing laws will reduce the risk between creditor and debtor in addition to access to concessional loans. Speaking after the discussions on how Africa can emerge better, the leaders have advocated for the eradication of corruption.
Today, African countries owe collectively more than $1.1 trillion in external debt, and 25 of them are in deep debt crisis. Debt financing and the inordinate interest rates incurred by the Global South in servicing debt affects social sector spending to achieve the global sustainable development and climate goals. Rising interest rates in major economies and slowing growth inflate debt payments, while cost of living trends erode wages and incomes. The stakes of this debt crisis are much higher than before the last Jubilee year, though. We need large investments to save the planet that sustains life in Africa and elsewhere during a window that is rapidly closing.
The United African leaders have called for the commitment to justice so as to end the social-economic disparity plaguing the continent.
African governments need to take critical responsibility to eradicate theft of public funds and corruption of all types, and to ensure public finances address the needs of their citizens. Increased money transfers should go hand in hand with improved policies and practices for their use. The governance dimension of all stages in the lending process is crucial. Being public institutions, the international finance institutions have members accountable to their taxpayers.
Responding to the multiple crises of climate change, scarcity of food and water, the religious leaders have proposed effective management of public funds.
We reassert that in these momentous times, characterized by intersecting global crises and challenges, the unified voice of African faith leaders emerges with unwavering clarity and determination. Our convergence at the Elysian Resort in Nairobi here is not merely a gathering, but a robust testament to the cohesive strength of interfaith unity, combined wisdom, and a shared commitment to justice.
The African faith leaders have also called for collaboration between state and religion, as well as the self-regulation of religious institutions.
Each religious family has got its own internal mechanism. Let them explore to what extent those mechanisms can manage the diversity of religions and extremism within their own boundaries.
The religious leaders representing many nations in Africa have maintained that they do not support military rule in the coup in Niger, reiterating their commitment to justice. Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Tess Njenga.
It is for that report. Now, environmental lobby groups are actively advocating against logging activities across the African continent and especially in the country Kenya. Led by Greenpeace Africa, the lobby groups have today kicked off a campaign that aims to address the detrimental environmental, social and economic impacts of logging and promote sustainable forestry practices. This comes after early last month, President William Ruto lifted the ban on logging, and a move that was later halted by the court. Here's our very own Joy Gatwiri with more.
What do you want? Climate justice. When do you want? Now.
Environmentalists in the country have continued to scale high the war on logging of trees in the country. According to Tracy Maheti, a community manager Greenpeace Africa, they have started a petition against logging, which has so far received support of over 40,000 people across Africa.
As of today, up to 40,000 people across Africa have signed it to, go against the decision. And as of last week, the Environmental Court had reversed the decision of the government to lift the ban on logging. So as of now, temporarily, logging is not continuing, but that decision can be reversed any minute.
Maheti has further urged President William Ruto and CS for Environment, Climate Change and Forestry Soipan Tuya to reverse their decision on lifting of logging ban, which she said will affect local communities' rights, culture and livelihoods from the negative consequences of deforestation.
We are here to ask President William Ruto and Honorable CS Soipan Tuya to not sacrifice our public and community forests by lifting the ban on logging. Lifting the ban on logging will affect so many of our local communities who are dependent on that forest for their survival. It is going to affect our environment. We are already seeing extreme weather events. In the past 40 years, Kenya has had the most severe drought.
On his part, Peter Bulimo, a volunteer and activist, Greenpeace Africa, has noted that corruption has adversely affected the fight against logging. Bulimo has further urged the courts to halt the logging ban until the government is ready to utilize resources.
We still have a lot of loopholes, of course. There is corruption, there is people who are now taking advantage of the ban to to go beyond what has been stipulated. And we saw the CS was very verbative about what the government is going to do. But as Jeff just said, it is easy to say than to do. So what are they going to do? What are the safeguards that they are going to put in place? They are saying that there are regulations that are being made. We have not yet seen those regulations. So based on previous patterns, we don't have trust that this is going to work. And until we have accountability, transparency, safeguards, and strengthened governance structures that can show that actually this can work, we are not going to allow this to happen. So mine is just to urge the courts to look at the previous patterns and halt this process until such a time that the systems are in place that can allow sustainable utilization of those resources.
Barbara Kangwana has also urged the government to reinstate the ban on logging since the impacts of climate change are severe.
Our fellow citizens, our fellow Kenyans, to keep on pushing and to urge the government to reinstate the ban, because we need this forest. We've seen the impacts of climate change, and then they're getting worse. We've seen the impacts on our water towers. It's not going to get any better. We need the forest, not just the trees, but the forest as they were. So much depends on it. So much is at stake, and we need to keep that in place.
Joy Gatwiri reporting for Hope TV Newswatch.
Ukisoma historia ya Siratu Muhammad ambayo imeandikwa na Sheikh Abdullah Saleh Farsi, Muislamu wa kwanza duniani tunaambiwa ni Khadija bin Tawalib.
The house Jacob does not believe, but again I say, does not believe in anybody being God. No.
Mwanadamu atakayejisubmit kwa will ya Mwenyezi Mungu, huyo anakuwa ni Muislamu. Jini vile vile atakayejisubmit freely akaamua kufuata sheria ya Mungu anakuwa ni Muislamu.
Adui huyu ni shetani na majini.
Christ was not crucified at all because his close disciple Barnabas said that no, he was taken live to heaven.
Yesu alikuwa anaenda msikitini na alikuwa ni Muislamu kulingana na Biblia yenu.
Hakuna mahali katika kitabu cha Biblia kuanzia mwanzo hadi Ufunuo neno moja Uislamu.
Thank you for consistently tuning in to watch and listen to our content both on Hope TV and Hope FM. You are the reason why we are on air. The CBS Family Service now comes to you every Sunday at 4 p.m. on Hope TV, Hope FM, and on Sitam Church Online.
The Holy Spirit will empower our prayer lives.
Our mission is to know God and to make Him known through evangelism and discipleship.
CBS Family Service on Hope FM and Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome back. Now let's get down to business. Listed agribusiness firm Kakuzi has tapped into the macadamia oil business as demand for the product increases. This comes after the Nairobi Securities Exchange listed firm recently commissioned a macadamia oil extraction plant in Thika, Kiambu County. It has also diversified into ready-to-eat macadamia, a gluten-free macadamia flour, and blueberry packs that will be progressively introduced into the market.
My State Department mission to improve the livelihood of Kenyans and ensure food and nutrition security by creating an enabling environment, increased crop production and productivity, market access, and supporting agricultural research and dissemination of research findings to stakeholders.
As an agricultural superfood producer, the elements below the iceberg waterline that you see before you are essential to our values: environmental stewardship, agri-science, agri-tech best practice, employment standards, best practice food safety standards, strengthening community linkages, and building people are part and parcel of what we do.
Our sound guy Regan is a very happy man. He really loves macadamia. Anyway, moving forward, the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development has today kicked off the 7th International Conference. The conference provides an excellent platform for effectively utilizing geoscience to inform policies. The conference also aims at spurring ideas around the efficient and effective utilization of diverse information already accessible for various decision-making levels.
The theme of the conference, as it has been said, is space to community, and we shall be having 4 parallel sessions that will be going on. One, we are looking at issues to do with land issues, issues to do with surveying, issues to do with policies, and issues about how we administrate our lands. We are also looking at biodiversity conservation. It's the second theme that we are doing. So we have a lot of challenges when it comes to biodiversity conservation. So one of the topics that we'll be looking at is the blue economy and how relevant it is to our countries. Then we shall also be looking at agriculture and food security. So these are issues to do with how is the country going to cope with the changing climate when it comes to the changing needs of the population. The other theme that we are looking at, which is the fourth one, is innovation and data. We are living in an era where data drives a lot of technological innovation. So we are creating a platform for different institutions, different partners to innovate and see how they can make use of the Earth observation data.
We have found so far EU has really created a lot of value derivation in terms of making right policies, in terms of updating and knowing where to best place our resources and use them wisely. And that's really this first day is bringing all those policy makers together, looking at examples of use cases where we have been able to demonstrate how Earth observation can be able to inform policy. And we have brought in member states from all over Africa. We've brought in member states also who are coming from outside the continent to make their contributions on how they're utilizing Earth observation.
And to some sports in action now. Preparations for the 56th edition of the annual Christie Sevens Rugby Tournament are underway at the RFUA grounds in Nairobi. The tournament, which is hosted by Kenya Harlequins, is the fourth of the 6 tournaments in the 2023 National Sevens Circuit and is set to be held this weekend. In this year's edition, 16 teams will compete in the men's Division 1, 24 in Division 2, and 6 in the women's division. Circuit leaders Kabras Sugar are in Pool A alongside Giant Slayers Nakuru RFC, Masinde Muliro University and Impala Saracens. Host Kenya Harlequins, who came so close to winning the Prince Louis Sevens in Nakuru, headline Pool B alongside university sides Daystar Falcons and Kenyatta University's Black Blood, with Homeboys completing the pool.
With all the partners we are signing on board, we should be able in the near future to topple the corporate teams and bring back rugby to the community clubs.
We want to ensure that we are going to always support the young talent that is coming up, especially in rugby. We are just from Nakuru last weekend, so we are very glad to be partnering with Christie Sevens this coming weekend, ensuring that we are going to continue with that tradition.
For Christie Sevens, we will have Division 1 that will take place at the home of Kenya Harlequins. We'll also have Division 2 that will take place at Impala, and thank you to our neighbors at Impala for giving access to their pitch for that. We'll also have access to, or rather we'll also experience the women's rugby tournament taking place, as well as age grade rugby. With regards to women's teams, we expect at least 8 to be participating for Christie Sevens. Amongst them will be the Prince Louis winners, the Yamanashi Impala. There'll also be Mwamba RFC, Western Spears, NYH Spades, and Nakuru RFC.
And finally, Colombia set up a Women's World Cup quarter-final against England with the hard-fought 1-0 victory over Jamaica. This is the first time Colombia have reached the last 8 of the Women's World Cup. They will face European champions England at Stadium Australia in Sydney on Saturday. At the same time, France advanced to the Women's World Cup quarter-finals with a 4-0 win over Morocco. France will face Australia in the quarters. Well, with that, we come to the end of our news tonight. Many thanks to you for watching Newswatch. On behalf of the whole team that made this broadcast a success, have yourselves a blessed night. My name is Kimani, and Boniface Moredi has been the sign language interpreter.